Good morning.
My name is Sarah, and I work with the Living Archives Project, where we are collecting stories from various communities around Charlotte-Mecklenburg County to gain an understanding of how COVID-19 impacted them throughout the last few years. Today is December 13th, 2022. This week, there were 196 reported cases of COVID-19 in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg County area, which shows a slight increase of 11% over the last 2 weeks. Therefore, we are both comfortable not wearing a mask. Neia, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Neia James. I'm 25. I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow, that's amazing, Neia. Would you be able to describe your physical image for us?
Yes, I am a tall, 5'7.5" African American female, slim. Best way to describe me. Brown eyes, black hair.
Yeah, I love that. Today you're wearing some really nice glasses.
Thank you. Oh yeah, I wear glasses. Can't see.
And I love your hat. It's
Thank
so
you.
pretty.
Thank you.
So Neia, tell me, you are a Charlotte native. That makes you a unicorn.
Yes.
You have been here for a long time. Has there been anything that is like, whoa, I love this about Charlotte, my hometown?
Yeah. As I've gotten older and got to, like, when I was a kid, I think I used to, like, fantasize about the big city because Charlotte was so small at one point. And as I've gotten older, I get to see the beauty of a city like mine is that we have, like, really clean air. It's one of the few places I realize where you're so close to where if you want to go to the mountains, the beach, we're like one of those cities where you can do everything, like not in Charlotte, but it's close. Like, so you have access to different landscapes. And I realized that's like pretty cool. Like, I can go camping from here to the mountains, hiking. The beach is right there. I love Charleston, so things are pretty convenient to Charlotte. So I love that we're like city but country.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Are you in school? Are you working?
So I am a licensed insurance agent. All of my all of my career background is direct sales. So I've done telemarketing, door knocking, standing outside of Walmart selling whatever. So pure sales. And I got licensed when I was like 19. So my area of focus with insurance is health. I'm currently about to finish my property and casualty this week. So the goal is to have both health, life, and property and casualty, go on and maybe own my own firm or something, great.
That's amazing, Neia. You're 25 and that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, the sooner the better.
So, yeah, together we did this hand map activity before we started our interview. Would you want to share anything from your hand map?
Yes. So I know one question that I liked you asking me kind of was based around like the journeys I've been in. And right now I feel like my life's theme right now is like financial education overall.
Okay.
Part of my passion from learning insurance is being raised as, very poor. And you see so many people take losses, they're not prepared, they don't have, the savings or whatever for emergencies. And as I got into insurance, I discovered like the lack of understanding is why people don't trust insurance companies. They're evil, it's all corrupt. And you realize, there is that part of it, but oftentimes what I've discovered is just lack of understanding and education. Oftentimes people take out a policy, they think it covers one thing, it doesn't cover that, then the situation comes up, now they feel lied to. So I love that it's a way to empower my community by them understanding finances. Also, a feminine journey I've been in is very personal to me. I realized I grew up with a single mom or a mom in a single household, so I've realized that many women have adopted certain survival instincts or traits nowadays. And even though I do have my father in my life, it's just not in this, same household.
Yeah.
You realize girls nowadays, we do sports, we take out trash, we might know how to work on cars. And so that develops, I realize, that attitude of like, I don't need anyone, I don't need a man, I don't need certain things. And yes, you may excel in your career, but I find, I think I was on the path of maybe where I might have everything money-wise, but unfulfilled emotionally because of that kind of attitude in society. So I've learned that I had to kind of heal my feminine side. Like, even though I might be a boss technically, or I might make good money or have, the credit, I'm learning to, you can be that dominant without having to put it in everyone's face all the time. Like, so that's my own personal journey, is just being soft and feminine, but still want to be a role model for girls and, independent. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. Anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, and then the last thing I answered about the 3 journeys I'm on, I said also understanding politics. Like, when you were saying the goal of this relates to politics and groups, and the more I understand that, the more I know how to carve out my path in life. Like, the more I understand, okay, this is the group, this is the class I'm in, this is what society will view me as. How do I use that to carve out my own path, or where I want to be? Like, what groups do I need to be associating with, or where do I need to be going as, organizations and things. So that's helped me a lot too.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Nia. Tell me, how is there a group that you kind of identify yourself in, and what does that look like?
I think I'm just very typical in the sense of a Black woman, the story of my divorced parents, single household, didn't grow up with money, and you see the differences made, just not just from a race perspective, but also low, like, poverty. So you realize there's an issue against people in poverty, and then when you are a minority, then it becomes even more. But either way, I mean, at the end of the day, I still grew up with other race of people who are just as poor, and you just overall see the disadvantage. So me being able to identify with that and, fight to get out of that, so that I can go back and, have empathy, and I want to create programs or more things that can help. So that's what I identify with. That's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about women in general, and then being a Black woman. So
Yeah. Over the last 2.5 years, have you found that your passions have led you in a certain direction? Were you influenced by anything that happened in the city or during the pandemic?
yeah. Okay, so it's interesting. I was licensed before the pandemic.
Okay.
My genuine interest in learning money, I feel like for like 3-5 years prior to COVID, it felt like I was preparing for something. I didn't know what I was preparing for. But if you were like me, reading like Forbes, or you were reading Wall Street Journal, everyone was telling you in some form, like, we're about to go digital, e-commerce about to take off, people are going to stop going outside, there's going to be more like grocery delivery and whatever. And I'm reading all this before any of this is becoming the thing. So to see it come to pass, I'm like, I don't know why I was tuned into this, but I'm glad I was, because I ended up being unexpectedly prepared. I already had because by me reading that information, my mindset was already on, okay, you need to find more and more ways to make money from home. Like, my genuine interest in finances and politics led me to understanding that oftentimes women that have to go outside the home a lot for finances struggle often, because it's just very hard to keep up. And I grew up with that mom. Like, I had moments where I really wanted my mom to stay home that day because I'm like 5 and she has to go work. Yeah. So things like that kind of affected me in a way where I had a great mom, but just, you see where the stress of, especially if a woman's single and she's raising kids, you see the stress of her having to be the provider, and at times she may not be able to be as nurturing to her kids as she would like to be because she has to go get the money. So it just made me think, like, a long time ago, how can I make my money from home? And then when COVID hit, I was already licensed as an insurance agent, and I thrived during COVID. That was, like, honestly my time to shine. I'm an essential worker. I already work with healthcare. So it was like, insurance agents have been working virtually. So in this path, it wasn't like the industry needed to reinvent anything. We already work from home. So it was very interesting to, you know, feel lucky in a sense of like, wow, I'm just glad I didn't know what I was preparing for, but I was prepared.
Yeah, such an interesting perspective, really, that we don't really often hear. That's really interesting, Neia. Do you feel like with that preparedness, you weren't, I hate to, how do I frame this? With that preparedness, how were you impacted, either positively or negatively, when the pandemic kind of was at our doorstep?
The positive is that, like, yeah, I have more and more job offers. Insurance, I mean, it is what it is. That if you're dealing with health insurance, you know, it's a catch. It's a weird feeling of, okay, the people who are going to get sick, you know, you can't control that. That's out of our control. Our job is to be ready and there to help you so that you can get through it financially. So in a time of crisis, we're one of those people that are actually more needed. It's like nurses, doctors, we become more needed. So my household went up, but it's kind of like a survivor's guilt, I think, because you see so many people not doing well. That's what I struggled with a lot, like seeing people around me or close family or friends who's struggling during the time. And they weren't like me or people similar to me, because on my dad's side, my dad is like a person who preaches trades. My dad's an electrician, so we would have those conversations. My dad did better during this time, so it was interesting to see like our trades save us.
Yeah, so interesting. Did you find that as an essential worker in the insurance industry, with the pandemic being a health crisis in itself, did you find that you were more busy and people were needing more insurance or needing more support in that area? Or did you find that it was kind of the same?
It was pretty the same, I think, because we have certain things people have to do every year annually where they have to like choose their plan, so they're gonna call us anyway.
Yeah.
But I think actually okay, so the tricky thing with insurance is already a conversation people don't like.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So then COVID became more of the reason for a lot of people to just ignore the issue they're already having, which is their finances. So if they were already in a bad place financially, then trying to have the conversation of coverage and insurance themselves on top of maybe dealing with COVID and the stress of that. Honestly, most people I notice when it comes to finances, they get overwhelmed and they just shut down. The conversation, they shut down.
Yeah.
There's very few people like me, and that's why we end up in these careers where the conversation of money and talking about like how do we plan for it is exciting. Most people, that's not a good conversation for them on a regular day. So during a crisis, it becomes even harder.
Yeah. So, so true. So true. Was there a time while you were working in the last 2.5 years, is there a story or an experience that kind of like resonated with you and impacted you in a certain way?
I think my hardest clients, they're always hard for me, are the clients who are dealing with like cancer. And then during this time, you know, people start getting affected with work and other things. And so those are always very hard clients, like especially if I have someone where their medicine may cost like $6,000, like one prescription. All you can do in that scenario is try your hardest to get them a plan that will make it as affordable as possible for them. But the issue is not with the insurance companies at that point. Like if a pharmaceutical company is just charging $6,000 for a prescription, I might could get you 10% off, but you're still gonna owe thousands. And then a lot of the people I'm talking to are people who may not even make $4,000 a month. So that's one of those situations where I always might need to take a mental break right after that client or
Yeah. So what does that look like for you? What does a mental break, mental health, self-care look like for you, Nia?
go take a walk, go get some food, maybe like get outside. I think the positive that comes out of my job is it makes me extremely grateful for life. It makes me extremely grateful for just when I wake up and I don't have any pains or groans, like that is a constant reminder. Don't take it for granted. Like I look at my like medical bills I've spent in a lifetime, and knowing that I have clients where like that's real for them. Every month they need to figure out 10,000 or whatever it is they don't have. I'm just grateful, I don't have that, and it makes me take my health and insurance serious. I'm one of them people, if I can get insurance on it and I paid over $500 for it, I'm going to get it. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's such a good truth. I like that. Do you feel like for you, the pandemic has had any long-lasting impacts?
Yeah, like I was saying to you before the interview, it pretty much proved my own theory right. When I took the path, because I didn't go to college. So I was an honor student, didn't go to college. So when I chose that path, I felt like the whole world was against me. Everyone told me you're not gonna do well. You're not gonna make this amount. And then when this hit, and then we now are having a conversation about the student loan relief. My mom is actually a part of those group of people trying to get it because her debt's not even that bad. It's the student loan debt. So me getting to this side and seeing, like, I'm glad I trusted myself to know what was best for me. Like, I'm not against, people getting educated or certain things, but I'm just glad I trusted myself back when I was like 19 to just take the opportunity to get licensed. Now I'm at the other side of it. I've made some really great money out of it. I'm college debt free. So it's mind blowing to realize, like, I took a path that's not talked about enough, that's not as heard of, and it's really not as hard. Like, it's really the easier path. Like, I look at my friends now, because COVID started,
2020, so about 2 years ago, a little over 2.
Right, so I have friends that were still in college. So then they just graduated, most of them. I'm 25, so most of them are just now getting out of college during this time period. And the craziest part that has happened during COVID is a lot of those friends are coming to me and they're like, yeah, I have this degree and I'm still not making money and I'm not getting hired. So, like, what are you doing? Like, what's the insurance process? And I'm actually able to guide them through it. Like, I'm excited to teach them about it, tell them about it. My boyfriend actually is one of those people. He has a degree, super smart. Told him about the insurance process. He's about to finish his claims adjuster class. It's empowering.
That's amazing, Nia. You're making such an incredible impact on your peers and your community. That's awesome. So tell me about that journey, because like you said, it's not talked about. So what is most important to you on your journey?
The biggest thing for me first is just family. I'm a very family-oriented person. All of the biggest motivators I have is the desire to one day, help my mom. But I want to create my own family one day. So I'm very, very just based around the idea of family, wanting to create generational wealth, want to make it easier for my kids and my grandkids. So that's the biggest thing for me. And like I said, my motivation to learn things like insurance, credit, whatever, finances, is because the more I do it, then I can teach.
Yeah, yeah. And the impact that you get to make has ripple effects.
Yeah. Because when I used to talk about these things, if I wasn't doing it myself, people can tell you're not doing it yourself. Like that's like people can tell the difference between, okay, you read a book, now you're telling everyone to do this, versus you did it. Like it took you 2, maybe 3 years, 5 years of sacrifices, or not. I'm one of them people. Since graduating high school, like I haven't did a lot of traveling overseas or certain things, and it's not because I haven't had the money or desire. It's just me looking at things like this is the time to build the solid foundation, and it's very critical. And so, yeah, I've had these years of just educating myself, self-education basically, and it's allowed me to now tell everybody else. Like, for example, I just went through my first car buying process. I remember like 2-3 years ago, everyone saying like, just sign up for CPC, take that refund check or whatever you get, go get you a car. Or like I knew a lot of people who just didn't finish school because of that, or like, or oh, you don't have to worry about your credit, just go to one of these second, hand lots or whatever, and just go get you a car. And the sacrifice I remember making at that time was I saved up like $3,000, $4,000, and I went to the bank and I was like, sir, if you were in my position, would you go buy a car or would you build your credit? And he was like, I've seen a lot of people have the money and can't get approved. So he was like, me knowing what I know, I would work on my credit, because if you got the credit, we can find you the money. And so I spent 3 years just building my credit. And my car buying experience was like amazing. Like I've listened to so many people first time buy experience. Most of the time it's a horror story, You hear so many extra high payments, this, that, and the third. I didn't have any of that. And I realized it was just because I was willing to delay the instant gratification in reality. That's all it was.
Ooh, look at that. That's big. Instant gratification.
Messing us up.
Messing us up. Come on, Neia. Speak it.
It was very, very hard because I caught a lot of buses, spent a lot of money on Uber. And it didn't make sense to a lot of people. It's like, well, you got the money, go get a car, just go get a car. But I understood, like, I don't want to spend 5-6 years trying to pay off a car when all I got to do is work on my credit and put myself in a good deal from the beginning.
Yeah.
So that was a life lesson in itself. It was just, again, validation to it's okay to make, temporary sacrifices or delay gratification. I'm one of them people, I'm really big on, like, I don't want to be a perfectionist, but I do believe in trying to do things the best as possible the first time, so you don't spend a lot of time going back and fixing a lot of errors.
Yeah. You talk a lot about learning. What does that look like for you? How do you learn?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, and I'm not saying this is like I support any of his views. I'm just, Kanye West, most of us know like lyric by Kanye West. And he has a song with Rihanna where he say, I grew up in that ghetto university, right? And I always think that's funny to me because that's what I consider myself, as someone who didn't do the formal education. But I'm educated because I didn't just like sit and not get it. Like I have plenty of licenses and certifications under my belt. But I realized that required, like, that's not nobody telling me to do it. Most people, parents will tell you to go to college. Your parents aren't telling you to go get an insurance license or a real estate license or whatever. They're not telling you that. So that was me. And, like, I have many a times to come into the library to learn more about it. So just, it looks like for me when I want to learn something, my first method is I want to go to the library, find a book on it. I want to find some YouTube videos on it. I'm going to go to Amazon, order some more books on it. And like real just taking control of educating myself. I'm one of them people that I truly feel you can learn anything. Like you can teach yourself anything. Like when I was in school, for example, I didn't get the Pythagorean theory. I could not understand it for the life of me. I didn't care what math teacher taught it. I grew up thinking I was horrible at math my whole life. And then I remember coming to the library and learning who Pythagorean was, or, you know, who Plato was, and, you know, what they consider like the godfathers of math and whatever. And I remember learning them and realizing why they even created the theory, like people like Socrates and just the people who created math or helped our math in America. And just reading a book and learning his mindset and what he stood for actually made me learn it. I taught myself it, and I'm like, here I am, all these teachers couldn't get me to get it, but I pick up a book and learn the brain of the person that created it, and I taught myself. So now I learned, that taught me, like, I can do it with anything.
Yeah. You started the foundation, right?
Exactly. Like, if I wanted to know how to build a car, I would look up what was the man that created forward thinking and what was his process, and I would copy it.
That's awesome, Neia. Look at you. You're very self-directed and self-disciplined.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I try. I do try. I try.
Anything in life is hard, but when you really seek that knowledge, that's really cool.
It's like insanity. You feel some days, I'm like, what made me this crazy person to take this? Because, like I said, it's harder. It's harder in the sense of trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's less examples around you.
Yeah.
Like, there are examples I've met of people who did the same path as me and now they own like an Allstate office or something. But you don't meet as many of those. So sometimes you question yourself. Like, am I really getting it right? But that's really the hardest part of it. The actual process, like I said, to me is easier because when you compare like, 4 or 8 years of school, I can buckle down for 3-6 months and come out making 6 figures or above average, especially in my age group. So, yeah, it's just one of them things. The hardest part is learning to trust yourself, I feel.
That's a good word. Well, we're coming to a close, and is there anything else that you would like to share about your story, about the last 2.5 years?
Yeah, if I wanted anyone to learn anything from me, it's really just never let people put you in a box. Never let them shut you out. Never let anybody feel like, especially me coming from like what I felt was just poverty. Like, I went to Vance. If you're from Charlotte, you know Vance. Vance is considered a Title I school, which means majority of the kids are under the poverty level. So, you know, it's really, really a fight to get up in class systems, and you hear a lot of no's. You have to be willing to put yourself in environments where you're not gonna feel comfortable at first. I remember my first like time going to real estate class. Everyone's in like business attire suits. I didn't know any better at that time. I was in like first slides. And you have to just know that you belong, and it's okay if you're rough around the edges. You're learning. Now, today, I know how to present myself. Like, today, I'm casual, but, you know, just knowing you belong, whatever you want, you can go get it, and you don't have to wait on, I feel like, what I call their yes. Like, in my mind, okay, if you have a degree and you feel like you're not getting the jobs you want, go find a certification or a license and get your way into that door and then use your degree later. Whatever you have to do, but I really have a mindset of you can't tell me no. Like, I'm going to find my way in regardless.
I love that. Well, thank you, Neia. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
It was so touching.
Thank you.
Inspiring.
Thank you for interviewing me. Like, yeah.